Hello, welcome back to Galactic Reviews. Season 2 of Bad Batch has come and gone. While there are some people that didn't like it and some people that probably liked it, some people didn't even know it was out there. Much like Andrew and Zach being two people that when I said I was going to do this review earlier last week, that I was going to be doing this because last episodes were coming out this week, they said, do what? They had no idea that it was even out. And I can't honestly say I don't blame them. There's been zero to no there's been like almost no advertisement for this show season, and much like its Mandalorian counterpart, there's been nothing pointing towards it at all. Much like Mandalorian season 3, nobody knew it was coming out. Nobody knew it was out. At least those two didn't. And while there probably were some people that knew, hey, it's coming out soon, they had no idea when that soon was. But as far as like how I thought about it, and how I thought it was, and how I thought the season was, it's definitely got problems. Much like my season 1 review, where we did it episode by episode, we were actually somewhat invested. We liked Clone Wars to some extent. I less so than others. However, we all enjoyed Clone Wars to some extent, and we wanted to see the Bad Batch show. And when we did that, we were not excited. Some of us were excited, actually. I was not. It demeaned the Bad Batch, made a whole bunch of different conjectures and continuity problems regarding the chip, regarding Crosshair in general, regarding the way the Bad Batch was portrayed in the 4 episodes that were there in the Clone Wars, 3 or 4. And yeah, just overall, could have cared less. I watched the whole season, and all I can say is it's meh. It is very bland, very much. Unless you're heavily invested in these characters, you're not gonna care. And the show hasn't made it so you're heavily invested. This is very much more so like Rebels, where it's just adventure, 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 and you get no character development. You really don't care about any of these characters. And the character developments you do have are few and far between. And the character developments also that later end up happening are contrary to either lore or make no sense according to lore or according to what has been previously established through lore, which is kind of a Filoni thing to do anyway, regardless. So, as far as this season, I still don't like Omega. She's less annoying in this season. So that's a plus. That's a plus. She's still annoying as a character. As far as like why she was made, for what purpose, it serves none. It makes no sense as to why she exists. It makes no sense as to why she exists. She is treated as though she is an unaltered clone of Django and like the next template. However, that was what Boba was. So if they wanted to do that sort of thing, it would make sense for them to just make another something like Boba, just have it completely under their control, right? But instead they got Omega. Really never explains like why they made her a her instead of keeping Django's DNA clones of him. It makes no sense other than diversity. It makes no sense. Getting that out of the way because that'll be my main frustration with Omega's character, as she makes zero to no sense in general. And by proxy, you can extend that to the Bad Batch, and to some extent, I have to agree with you because the clones were not experimental; they were just there. The furthest they got in experiments was the Nulls, and as far as Legends continuity goes, and I only bring up Legends continuity because this is what replaced Legends. So that'll be a lot of my aggravation, as a lot of the stuff that they're doing in here is very reminiscent of what they did in Legends. As far as like Rex and Echo and a whole bunch of other clones, sort of trying to create this Clone Underground sort of deal. That's in the books for people who don't know. That is in Legends continuity. It's done in a way better pace. I mentioned some of the characters that were a part of it. The Nulls. There's Omega Squad, Yayak Squad, if I'm not mistaken. You got Cal Scarata, along with a couple rogue Jedi. You have a couple Jedi that Cal Scarata undertook and kind of helped save and protect to some extent. It is a remarkable story. While I understand not everybody's going to love it, it is a good story for if you like the clones and you want to see more of them, or at least read more about them. Those were the books to go get if you didn't want to get into the whole Dave Filoni stuff, in which it kind of like retcons lore every Thursday. Then that's the kind of stuff I would recommend. Omega Squad is what I would consider the Bad Batch to be replacing to some extent. The Bad Batch seems to have just cookie cutter characters. They don't know how to, for whatever reason, they don't know how to do them and they don't know how to write them. That's very evident when they try to ship this new character Fee with his character Tech. Now there is no chemistry there at all in the writing, with the characters in general. Yet they're trying to portray this as a sort of, and they're trying to portray this as some sort of ship that they're trying to create, in which there is no chemistry at all. It just doesn't work on screen at all. And I don't know whether this is just crappy writing or anything, but it's very evident that Tech is not interested in her to some extent, while Fee is trying to play him off. I could very well could be misreading the room, but that she's done that to him repeatedly through the series, and he either gets it and is repulsing against her, or they decide to make the smart guy dumb in this aspect, which makes no sense. And Tech is one of my favorites. I like him a lot. I also like Echo, but I mainly like Echo just because I got to see all the Clone Wars. I like the clones. That's one of the few things I do like about their Clone Wars, about Dave Filoni's Clone Wars, is I like to see the clones. I like the clones, hence why I went and got Republic Commandos. I did like to see the clones. Thought they were phenomenal. Echo's one of my favorites, just because he's been one of the ones that's been more fleshed out. Whole bunch of things I find wrong with this in general. The episodes are boring. They're very, very boring. They do nothing else but just fill time, it seems. And you really get nothing out of a lot of these. The only ones that you could say you get some stuff out of is the Crosshair episodes, the Crosshair centered episodes. And those end up being my favorite just because you're dealing with a character that's somewhat out of his element, trying to do his job as a soldier. And you got a very complicated character. Now, while I do have problems with the way they handle Crosshair at the end of season 1, like in how they decided, you know what, we're going to take the chip and we're going to make it work as we want to because we're writers. And they never really explain that, whether or not it's a one-time thing or not, because they're like, Order 66, they're just mindless slaves. All of a sudden, you know what? They're no longer mindless slaves. Except, wait again, they're mindless slaves in another episode. So they are very picky with how they choose to be either using chip properly as they've established it, or not using chip, or not using the inhibitor chip properly in order for them to get the writing that they want and the story that they want, which it's kind of their fault at that point already, because Dave Filoni is the one who brought in the chip where it wasn't necessary. So there's that. The episodes are very bland, very much you get nothing out of them. The only ones you get out of them is Crosshair. Crosshair is one of the more interesting characters, as he's one that has decided to, one clone that has decided to stay with the Empire. And I wish they would have just done this, where he stays with the Empire, whereas the other ones don't, and they just go their separate ways after that. Something along those lines would have been eventful. However, because of the chip, they can't do that. and then they try to go back on it by having Crosshair say he no longer has a chip. However, seeing Crosshair in this season, Crosshair is undergoing the tribulations of what the Empire is like, and having Cody appear for one episode only for him to go AWOL in that same episode and no longer be in the Empire makes zero to no sense, as Cody would have been. Dave Filoni's already talked about Cody possibly being in the Rebels TV show, as Thrawn bringing him in to help get the Rebels and Rex. So they essentially thought of Cody beforehand as staying with the Empire, and it somewhat made that canon. However, now he is no longer with the Empire, giving you a kind of what the heck is this sort of situation. You have Hunter playing dad, which is good. It's not horrible. It's just I don't like the bratty kid, but she seems to be serving no real purpose. But it's fun. You see Wrecker be the fun uncle. However, the two of them relatively stay stagnant. There is no character development at all. Crosshair is the only episodes I liked were about, I think, episode 4, which was Crosshairs, and episode 12, which was Crosshairs. And I wish we got more with Crosshair, because that would have been a better show of his decline into wanting to no longer be a part of the Empire. It would have been better to see, and I don't think we got that. Now, granted, the one episode that we do have was relatively good, with him turning. However, we've already seen him not care about fellow clones in such as in the episode of Clone Wars where the Bad Batch is, where he very much demeans the regs that they call, or regular clones. So makes no sense. Now, it is interesting and good to see him care about someone else again. It's something that he hasn't done since the Bad Batch left, and it would have been great to see him do it at some point in the season. However, they didn't build up to it at all. If this was Cody, it would have made a lot more sense. However, since this is just some regular clone that he magically end up forming a good, decent connection with, and then he ends up shooting his officer over, I don't, it doesn't make as much sense as if it was either Cody or it was more established later through multiple episodes of him starting to doubt what they're doing. And they only really show that in episode 4 with Cody when he leaves. And that's about it. That's about all you get. Crosshair really doesn't serve as much of anything in this, and it's honestly for the better, because probably they're not going to be able to ruin his character as much. There is one thing that I did like about this, and it wasn't even a full episode, as the episode in itself was mainly boring. And by the episode, you'll know what I'm talking about, no pun intended. But they're going and digging in to this mine to try to get this sort of mineral that like explodes. It's essentially the gold of C4. They end up getting trapped. They end up getting lost. Tech ends up Omega. Echo has somewhat left, like a couple episodes beforehand, and Omega is still torn between this. Tech is saying, "Suck it up. It's gonna happen. You move on." And apparently, he hurts her feelings, which is a shame, because we should really be caring about a kid's feelings in a time where, at this point, they were stuck in a cave. So, and possibly gonna die. But by God, let's get the feelings out of the way instead of actually trying to like get out, and then we can get the feelings done with once we're safe and back and stuff. No, we're gonna go get the feelings in the life altering situation that we're in now. But Tech, what I did like about this was Tech didn't apologize to her, which is what I thought they were gonna have him do, and instead he's just saying, I'm just trying to show you why I think the way I think, and which I thought was well done, which I did not expect this from Lucasfilm, Star Wars at all, concerned how they fired Gina Carano, but they did this relatively well. And that's the one thing I did like about Tech, and that they did with Tech in this season. They do have Tech, spoilers, they do have Tech sacrificing himself at the end so the rest of the Bad Batch can live, which is great, I guess. But knowing that it's Dave Filoni and never actually seeing a dead body, I'm going with that he's still alive to some extent. He's alive. To what extent, I don't know, but I'm assuming he's alive. He'll show up season 3 finale that he's alive, or sometime in season 3 that he's alive. After like Crosshair joins back with the group, and they kind of have the four of them. Echo kind of taking more so Tech's role as Tech is no longer there. Crosshair start coming back to be that fourth man, I would assume, with them later on finding out Tech is still alive by the season finale, and that sort of being the season ender. They're starting to do the clone uprising sort of arc. I'm assuming they're pointing towards that, and I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. I think they're gonna keep on pointing at it and pointing at it, and it's either gonna fail miserably or the clones are gonna all get decommissioned. Nothing. I don't think anything's gonna come of it for a long time anyway. Um, the big shock factor of this season is that the scientist that was overseeing Crosshair is a female clone of Jango Fett. That is the big wow factor. And quite frankly, I could care less because it makes no sense. Like, it's never explained. None of this is ever explained, which is why I brought it up earlier as to Omega existing. None of this is ever explained. It's never brought into attention. They never say why she was created, other than maybe Nala Se just wanted a lab partner. As to why, I don't know. The Kaminoans are very, very callous. So I don't know why all of a sudden that they're making this Kaminoan have feelings for a clone. It makes zero to no sense. It breaks the continuity as far as that goes. But yeah, they're trying to make Omega be something way more important than she is, and not saying she can't be important to the team, as she has proven that, albeit through very horrible storytelling time and time again. And while I am starting to warm up to her character as far as like as a character going with the Bad Batch, as it has become less of an Omega show and more of a Bad Batch show. Not while not completely, it's still very much an Omega show. Bad Batch has had more time to shine. It is very much still unexplained and a very big just hole in the whole show as it stands. As to why she is so important, it's never explained unless I slept through it. This has been a very boring show both seasons, so I don't know. Give and take. They keep on teasing Scorch without ever really doing anything with him. Um, Having read the books and knowing Scorch, he was way more of the he was more of the laid back. He had a lot of banter with Sev, and this probably had a lot to affect with why he might be there. Is because Sev, if you haven't played the game, Sev is got lost on Kashyyyk, and the Jedi pulled the whole team out before they could go back and retrieve him. So they do nothing with Scorch other than tease him, which is fine, I guess. It serves no purpose. It serves no purpose and is more so just there to be like, oh, you remember the good stuff from like old days? Well, yeah, look, we're putting it in here. Yeah, I have very little to no care about this at all. besides like some of the characters I like and I would like to see. However, I'm mainly just watching this now to see how they're going to butcher it even more. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts on this season. It is very bland, very poorly done. There are some episodes that are good, but the good episodes kind of ruin canon. So, some give and some take here. The wow factor is pointless and does nothing but make you question, why is this show? Crosshair turning is a fun bit, but it kind of, like I said earlier, kind of breaks what they were kind of establishing and kind of breaks canon of what they established for Crosshair. That's nothing new. I mean, you saw season one with Crosshair, and they kind of broke canon on that front. And I don't. They kind of tried out to make all the characters cookie cutter characters like they did in season one. However, they're still very much that similar manner. It's just they're maybe branching out a little bit, but not a whole bunch. Cody was only there for an episode. Nothing was brought on by that. It was very much just a, hey, look, Cody's in the show. So Scorch was very much the same thing. Just, hey, Scorch is in here. Is he gonna do anything? You don't know. So yeah, very much lore breaking, very much pointless. So yeah, I'm gonna give this show a 3 out of 10. The 3 is being generous because I like the stuff with Crosshair. I like the stuff with Tech. I like that one bit with Tech, but the rest of the stuff honestly is pointless. I do like Echo, but he doesn't get enough time to shine. He's really only there as like, oh yeah, I'm a commando ARC trooper. That's really what I am. And you really get nothing from him. You get some cool moments, but nothing to write home about. It's just like, oh yeah, he's with the Bad Batch. Makes you feel nostalgic for something you never got in all the Bad Batch. Yeah, I can't say I'm excited for season 3, but I'm excited to see what else they're gonna do to these characters. I'm excited to see how they're gonna butcher this even more. And quite frankly, Star Wars has been dead for at least one trilogy ago. Let me know whether or not you agree with me or disagree with me in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you next time on Galactic Reviews.